Welcome to Love Lies Chronicles.
I'd really appreciate your comment. It helps me understand if you enjoyed the story and how I can improve in future ones. The moment my wife's Aunt Helen asked who regretted their marriage, I knew exactly what was coming. We were at the Patterson family reunion at Shelby Farms Park in Memphis, about 45 people scattered around the Chickasaw Pavilion. I was at the grill flipping burgers when Helen's voice cut through the noise. Speaking of marriage, let me ask you all something. My wife groaned. I tensed, spatula in hand. After all these years together, has anyone here ever regretted who they married? The pavilion went quiet for 3 seconds. Then nervous laughter. Cousin Amber, 3 margaritas deep, shot her hand up. Her husband's followed reluctantly. Uncle Greg raised his slowly, winking. Then my wife's voice. Oh, I definitely do. Her hand went up high, and she laughed. The table erupted in forced laughter. But I wasn't laughing. I'd heard versions of this joke 4 times this year. I set down my spatula, walked to the table, raised my hand higher than everyone else's. Silence fell. You could hear cicadas 3 pavilions away. 5 regrets, 1 solution, I said calmly. My wife's smile froze. Babe, I was just kidding around. I wasn't. Her father, Norman Patterson, stood up from his seat. His face was already turning red, that country club tint deepening. What the hell is that supposed to mean? 5 regrets? I looked directly at him. Exactly what it sounds like. Blake, my wife hissed, grabbing my arm. Stop. I pulled my arm away gently. Stop what? Being honest? Isn't that what we're doing here? Sharing our feelings about marriage. Norman took a step toward me. You better explain yourself, son. What's this solution you're talking about? The entire pavilion was watching now. Kids had stopped playing. The volleyball game had paused. Even the cicadas seemed quieter. Divorce, I said. The solution is divorce. Chaos erupted instantly. My wife's mother gasped and clutched at her pearls. Her brother jumped up from his seat. Uncle Greg muttered, well, damn. Cousin Amber looked shocked sober. But I kept my eyes on Norman. You're serious, Norman said flatly. Dead serious. Your daughter just announced for the 4th time this year that she regrets marrying me. I'm agreeing with her assessment. Blake, I was joking. My wife stood up, panic replacing smugness. Everyone jokes about marriage. Were you joking? I interrupted. Because that's exactly how you've been treating this marriage. Like a daily regret. Her brother finally found his voice. This is insane. You can't be serious. Ask your sister how serious I am. Norman crossed his arms. You said 5 regrets. List them. My wife grabbed my arm again. Blake, please don't do this. Why not? You wanted to know who regrets their marriage. I'm being honest. I looked around at all 45 witnesses. Should I list them here, or would you prefer privacy? Here, Norman demanded. You made this public. Keep it public. I could feel my wife trembling next to me, but I'd been carrying these regrets for too long. All right. Regret number 1. Taking out a $35,000 personal loan for her MBA tuition. The table went quiet again. My wife's voice was small. You said you wanted to help. I did help, but you told everyone you were self-made. Tell them who paid that loan off last year. Tell them whose name was on those monthly payments for 8 years. She didn't answer. Norman looked confused. Sweetheart, you said the MBA was covered by financial aid. By me, I said. It was covered by me. $35,000, plus interest. Paid the last installment in March. My wife's mother put her hand over her mouth. Oh my God. Regret number 2. I continued, my engineer brain clicking through the list like a project checklist. Turning down the senior engineer position in Denver because she didn't want to leave Memphis. We agreed Memphis was better for both of us, my wife said desperately. You agreed Memphis was better for your networking. I agreed because you cried for 3 days straight. I looked at her brother. I turned down a $35,000 raise and a promotion. But her consulting firm was here, so we stayed. That's not how it happened. Then 2 years later, you took a job that required weekly travel. Turns out leaving Memphis was fine when it benefited you. The silence was getting heavier. People were looking at their plates, their drinks, anywhere but at us. Regret number 3. Putting my master's degree on hold for 4 years. Her mother tried to interject. But surely that was a joint decision. Joint. I almost laughed. She said, and I quote, one of us needs to be the adult and make money while I build my career. So I was the adult. For 4 years. I'm still waiting for my turn to build my career. My wife's grandfather, an 82-year-old man who rarely spoke, said quietly, "Still waiting, huh?" "Still waiting," I confirmed. "Blake, that's not fair," my wife started. "Regret number 4," I said, and the entire pavilion seemed to hold its breath. "Forgiving her 2 years ago." Norman stood up straighter. "Forgiving her for what?" "Blake, don't you dare." "Forgiving her emotional affair with her colleague." Norman's face went pale, then red. "What?" I stayed seated calm. "Ask her about the 400-plus text messages with her coworker Bradley. Ask her about the lunch meetings she conveniently forgot to mention. Ask her about the messages where she called our marriage suffocating." "It wasn't physical," my wife said quickly, tears starting. "Nothing physical happened." "Did you have an affair?" Norman's voice was shaking. "Emotionally, yes." "Did he pay for your MBA?" She nodded, tears falling. "Does he still pay the mortgage?" Another nod. Norman sat down heavily. "Jesus Christ." "And regret number 5, I said, looking directly at my wife. "Ignoring every red flag and marrying someone who treats partnership like indentured servitude." I turned to Norman. "Your daughter makes more money than I do now. Has for 3 years. She works 4 days a week, has Fridays off. Want to know how many date nights she's initiated in 3 years?" Silence. 0. Want to know how many girls' weekends she takes yearly? 7. Want to know how many times I get to go fishing with my buddies? Once. One weekend. And she complains about it for a month before and a month after. Uncle Greg nodded slowly. "So yes, 5 regrets. And 1 solution." My wife's mother tried desperately to salvage something. "Every marriage has problems. Does every marriage have one person who publicly announces their regret? 4 times a year?" She has a sharp sense of humor. Humor requires both people to laugh. "I stopped laughing 8 months ago." Her brother stood up. "You're making her sound like a monster." "I'm making her sound like someone who takes without giving. Because that's exactly what she is." I looked at my wife. "Tell them what you told your coworkers about me." She went pale. "Tell them about how I'm holding you back." "Blake, your assistant mentioned it at your Christmas party. Said everyone at the office knows you complain about your husband holding you back from your potential. Want to know what holding you back means?" I looked around the table. I asked her not to schedule client calls during dinner. That's holding her back. Norman still hadn't moved. He sat there, staring at his daughter like he'd never seen her before. "Ask her what she told her book club about me." Silence. "Tell them about my expensive hobby." "Blake, please stop." "My expensive hobby is a $15 monthly fee for an online gaming subscription. Meanwhile, she spends $400 monthly on workout classes she attends twice a month. But I'm the one with expensive hobbies." Her grandfather spoke again, his old voice cutting through the tension. "Norman, shut up and listen." Everyone stared at the old man. "I've been watching this boy for 8 years. Best thing that ever happened to her." He looked at my wife with sad eyes. "And I've been watching her treat him like a wallet with a pulse." He turned to me. "You should have left years ago." "I know. So why didn't you?" "Because I'm an idiot who believed in second chances." The old man nodded. "Not an idiot. Just too kind. That's different." Aunt Helen, who started this whole thing, finally spoke. "What exactly happened 2 years ago?" My wife was begging now. "Please, Blake, not here." I found out because she left her laptop open. Messages about how her marriage was suffocating her potential. About how Bradley understood her ambitions in ways I didn't. About how she wished she'd waited to marry. Her brother sat down. "But you stayed together." "I forgave her." She cried. "She promised to change." She did change, for exactly 6 months. Then told me I was controlling for asking about her late nights at the office. "I wasn't having an affair. You were emotionally checked out of our marriage." "That's worse." Uncle Greg asked quietly. "How much does she make now?" "That's private," my wife started. 180,000 base salary, plus bonuses. She cleared 240,000 last year. Someone whistled low. "I make 95,000. Guess who still pays the mortgage?" "Surely that's an exaggeration," her mother tried. Her direct quote from 3 months ago. "I earned this money. I should get to spend it how I want." So I asked what my money was for. She said, "Bills. Just bills." Cousin Amber, surprisingly, spoke up. "Does she ever thank you for anything?" I had to think about it. "Last thank you I remember was 14 months ago. I changed the oil in her car." She said, "Thanks, but you missed a spot on the windshield." A few people laughed uncomfortably. then realized I wasn't joking. That's our entire marriage. I cook dinner. She critiques my technique. I suggest a date. She sighs about her schedule. I support her goals. She asks why I don't have ambition like her. The grandfather said quietly, "Boys describing servitude, not marriage." Norman hadn't spoken in several minutes. He just sat there, processing. Finally, he stood up. His face was unreadable. "Is any of this untrue?" he asked his daughter. "He's making it sound worse than it is." "I didn't ask if it sounds bad. I asked if it's untrue." My wife couldn't answer. "Did you have an affair?" "It wasn't physical." "Did you have an affair?" "Emotionally, yes." "Did he pay for your MBA?" A whisper, "Yes." "Do you make $240,000? She nodded. "Does he still pay the mortgage?" Another nod. Norman stood there for another minute, then walked away from the pavilion. Just walked away. Headed straight for the parking lot. My wife's mother jumped up and followed him, calling his name. My wife ran after him. "Daddy, wait." Norman kept walking. He got to his car, a silver Lexus with his golf clubs visible in the back. He got in the driver's seat and just sat there, staring ahead through the windshield. My wife knocked on the window, crying. He started the engine. She knocked harder. He put the car in reverse and drove away, leaving her standing in the parking lot of Shelby Farms, mascara running down her face, expensive Anthropologie sundress wrinkled from where she'd been clutching it. The pavilion was silent. People started packing up their things. Kids were herded toward cars. The family reunion was officially over. Her brother approached me. "This didn't have to be so public." Yes, it did. Because every private conversation got dismissed as me being sensitive. He had no response to that. The grandfather patted my shoulder as he passed. "Proud of you, son." That actually made my throat tight. Within 20 minutes, most of the family had cleared out. Just me, my wife, her mother, and her brother remained at the pavilion. My wife came back from the parking lot looking destroyed. Her mother followed, wringing her hands. "Can we please talk about this privately?" My wife asked. "I tried private for 8 years. Didn't work. I'll change. Really change this time." "You'll change until I calm down. Then we're back here." "I'll go to counseling." "I asked you to go to counseling 9 months ago. You said no." "I'll quit my job if that's what you want." "I don't want you to quit your job. I wanted you to appreciate the husband who made your job possible." "I do appreciate you." "When? Show me one time in the last year you appreciated me." She opened her mouth, closed it, opened it again. Nothing came out. The windshield comment. "That's the only thank you I remember." "That can't be true. Find another example." "I'll wait." She couldn't. Her mother tried one more time. "Blake, she's my daughter. Please." "And I was your son-in-law. For 8 years, I was family. Did you ever notice how she talked about me?" "She loves you. She loves what I provide. There's a difference. I'm done being an ATM with feelings." I picked up my keys from the picnic table. Behind me, burgers were burned black on the grill, forgotten. The whole pavilion smelled like charred meat and broken promises. "Where are you going?" my wife asked. "To a hotel. Then Monday, to a lawyer." "Blake, please. You wanted to know who regretted their marriage. Now you know." "I do." Past tense. I walked toward my 2018 Honda Accord in the parking lot. My wife followed, grabbed my arm again. I looked down at her hand, then at her face. "Don't. We're done." I got in my car and drove away. In the rearview mirror, I watched her collapse onto the hot asphalt. Her mother and brother rushed over. I felt nothing, just the air conditioning on my face and the weight of 8 years lifting off my shoulders. I checked into the Hampton Inn on Poplar Avenue that night. Room 237, AC Arctic cold against the 94-degree evening. I sat eating Wendy's, watching TV without seeing it. My phone went insane. 68 calls from my wife by 9 p.m. 12 texts from her mother. 5 from her brother. 1 from the grandfather. Good man. Stick to it. I blocked everyone except the grandfather and my own parents. Made 1 call to my lawyer friend from college. Finally, he said, "I've been waiting for this call for 2 years. Meeting scheduled for Monday, 9 a.m. That night, I slept better than I had in months. Monday morning, I met him at a coffee shop near his office. He had the papers ready, had known this was coming apparently. "Tennessee is an equitable distribution state," he explained, "with my documentation, and I had plenty, because engineers document everything. This should be straightforward." "This is the most organized filing I've seen in years," he said, flipping through bank statements, Loan papers, email printouts. Engineer, I said. Right. He smiled. Retainer is $3,500. I wrote the check without hesitation. Felt lighter than I had in years. That first week, I found an efficiency apartment in East Memphis. $1,200 a month, less than half my share of the mortgage. Signed the lease immediately. Spent $850 at IKEA on basics. First night in my new place, I ordered pizza and played video games until 2 in the morning. No one complained about the noise. No one sighed about my hobbies. No one asked why I wasn't doing something more productive. Week 2, the divorce papers were served at her office. My request, because she'd made our marriage public, I'd make our divorce public. She called 37 times in 1 hour. I didn't answer. The voicemail she left. How could you embarrass me like this at work? Still making it about her image. Week 3, her mother called from an unknown number. We need to talk about my daughter. I have nothing to say about your daughter. She's devastated. Good. Maybe she'll learn something. I hung up. Week 4, her brother texted. She's not eating. Mom's worried. She's an adult. She'll figure it out. You're really not coming back? Would you go back to someone who regretted marrying you daily? 3 hours later, no, I wouldn't. Week 5, the mortgage payment came due. I transferred exactly my share. $850 of $1,700. Her check bounced. She called about losing the house. I told her to sell it or adjust her lifestyle. Her problem now, not mine. Week 6, I heard her emotional affair with Bradley was now office gossip. She'd been removed from his projects. I felt bad for the person I was who stayed too long. Week 7, the grandfather showed up with Central Barbecue. We ate in comfortable silence. Norman hasn't spoken to her in 3 weeks. That's between them. He's embarrassed. Of her. Of himself for not seeing it. How are you really? Free. He smiled. Good answer. 3 months later, we met at the courthouse for mediation. Both our lawyers present. She looked terrible, circles under her eyes, weight loss, different demeanor. Smaller somehow. Can we talk outside? She asked. Our lawyers can talk. That's what we pay them for. The settlement was straightforward. She kept the house, refinanced to remove my name. She paid me back $25,000 of the MBA loan as compromise. We split retirement accounts proportionally. No alimony because she made more money. She cried through the whole thing. I signed the papers steadily, no emotion. The final signature felt like releasing a weight I'd been carrying underwater. That afternoon, I went to the Kroger on Poplar Avenue for groceries. Thursday evening, less crowded. I turned the corner in the cereal aisle and nearly collided with her. She was comparing generic pasta sauce to name brand, something she'd never done when we were married. We both froze. She was wearing yoga pants and an oversized sweatshirt, no makeup, hair in a messy ponytail. Nothing like the polished woman who used to spend an hour getting ready for the grocery store. Her cart had basics: bread, milk, eggs, chicken. No wine, no fancy cheeses. Budget shopping. Hey, she said quietly. Hey. Awkward silence. She looked worse than at mediation, circles under her eyes, weight loss, bone-deep tiredness. You look good. Healthy. Thanks. I feel good. I heard you're going back to school. She set down the generic sauce, having decided. Starting in January. Master's in Aerospace Engineering. That's great. You always wanted to do that. The unspoken hung between us. Glad now that I'm not holding you back. How's work? I asked. Different. They moved me to another team after everything became office gossip. Still making good money, but everyone knows. That's rough. I did it to myself. I'm not playing victim. Just learning about consequences. She looked at me directly. I've been thinking about what you said. At the reunion. All of it. You were right about everything. I know I was right. I lived it. I'm sorry. I know that doesn't fix anything, but I am. Okay. Just okay. Her eyes filled with tears. What do you want me to say? That I forgive you? I do. That we can try again? We can't. Why not? I'm different now. Because you have to be. Because you lost something. That's not the same as choosing to be different when things are comfortable. Real change happens when someone sees their behavior was wrong while they're still doing it, not after they've paid the price. She started crying, right there in the pasta sauce aisle. I ruined everything. The best thing in my life. Yes, but I'm not ruined. That's the difference. Are you seeing someone? Not yet, but I'm open to it. I hope she appreciates you. I hope she sees what I was too stupid to see. She will. Because I won't settle for less this time. I know what I'm worth now. I didn't know what I had. You didn't want to know. Knowing would have required acknowledging you were wrong. She wiped her eyes with her sleeve. My dad still won't really talk to me. We've had dinner twice since the reunion. Both times, he barely said 10 words. He's disappointed in me. That's between you and him. The house is for sale. Can't afford it on my own. Moving into an apartment next month. 1 bedroom, East Memphis. Most people manage to live within their means. Most people didn't have someone paying for everything. She looked at me steadily. I know what you did for me now. I just see it too late. Yeah. Do you hate me? I thought about it. No. I feel sorry for you. Sorry that you let pride and selfishness cost you something genuine. She was crying hard now. I don't know how to live with this. You learn. Same way I learned to live with being married to someone who didn't appreciate me. You keep going. Eventually, it gets easier. Does it? You tell me in a year. Thank you. For everything you did for me. And for not lying to me now. You're welcome. Take care of yourself. You too. I walked away, continued my shopping. Glanced back once. She was still standing there, generic pasta sauce in hand, shoulders shaking. I felt pity, but no regret. 6 months after the divorce finalized, my life looked completely different. Master's program going well, 4.0 GPA. Promotion came through. The Denver position opened locally. New salary, $125,000. The irony, I turned down that exact raise years ago to stay for her career. Lost 15 pounds. Joined Planet Fitness. Went 4 times a week. Started running the Green Line Trail on Saturdays. Had regular game nights with college friends. Started attending professional networking events again. And I met someone. Her name was Whitney Campbell, and I met her at an aerospace conference in Nashville. 3-day event, presentations and workshops and networking sessions. She was presenting on supply chain logistics optimization and manufacturing. Not my direct field, but adjacent enough that I'd attended out of interest. She was good. Really good. Clear, confident, knew her material inside and out. Handled questions with grace and humor. We'd struck up a conversation at the coffee bar during the afternoon break. She'd made a joke about the conference coffee being worse than airplane coffee, which was saying something. I'd laughed, we'd started talking, and somehow 4 hours later we were still talking over dinner at a restaurant near the convention center, the conference completely forgotten. Whitney was 31, project manager at a mid-size manufacturing company in Memphis. Smart as hell, funny in a dry, unexpected way that caught you off guard and made you laugh harder. Grounded. No Instagram model looks, no designer power suits, just real. She wore minimal makeup, had opinions about everything from supply chain theory to the best tacos in Memphis, Central Barbecue for barbecue, but Maciel's for tacos, non-negotiable, and laughed loudly without covering her mouth or worrying about how it looked. We'd been on 5 dates over the past month. No pressure, no rush, no expectations beyond enjoying each other's company. She lived in Midtown in a small house she was renovating herself. Actually herself, with YouTube tutorials and borrowed tools and paint-stained clothes. Worked reasonable hours, had friends and hobbies and a life that didn't revolve around climbing some corporate ladder while crushing everyone beneath her. The difference I noticed immediately from that very first coffee conversation. She said thank you. After our first official date, dinner at a nice Italian place downtown, a place I'd wanted to try but my ex had deemed too casual for her taste, Whitney texted me that night. Thank you for such a lovely evening. I haven't laughed that much in months. Let's do it again soon. After the second date, a Saturday afternoon at the Memphis Zoo, because she'd mentioned loving penguins. Thank you for being willing to spend 3 hours looking at penguins because I think they're adorable. Most guys would have been bored out of their minds. After the third, when I'd listened to her vent about a difficult project at work for over an hour. Thank you for listening to my terrible day without trying to fix it or tell me I was overreacting. Sometimes people just need to be heard, you know? After the fourth, a movie and late-night diner food. Thank you for making me laugh when I needed it. And for introducing me to disco fries. Life-changing. Simple gratitude. The kind that costs nothing but means everything. A revolutionary concept after 8 years of having every gesture taken for granted or criticized. Our fifth date happened on a Friday night. I'd offered to cook dinner at my apartment, something I genuinely enjoyed but had stopped doing because my ex would inevitably critique something. The spice ratio, the presentation, the choice of sides, something. Whitney had been excited, asked if she could bring anything, seemed genuinely happy at the prospect of a home-cooked meal. She arrived at 7 sharp, bottle of wine in hand, wearing jeans and a casual top. No expectations of some 5-star experience, no judging eyes scanning my small apartment for deficiencies. Just excited to see what I'd made and spend time together. "This smells incredible," she'd said when I opened the door, the scent of Cajun spices filling my apartment. We cooked together, really. She helped with the salad, chopping vegetables while I monitored the pasta, setting the table while I plated the shrimp, pouring wine while I added final seasonings. Easy, natural, conversation flowing about her week, a funny story about her coworker, questions about my master's classes. No criticism about my kitchen being too small, or my knives not being professional grade, or my technique being wrong. When I finally set the plates down, Cajun pasta with shrimp, my signature dish, she took her first bite and her eyes widened. "Oh my God," she said. "Blake, this is amazing. Seriously amazing. Thank you for going to all this trouble." I almost teared up, just from someone genuinely appreciating something I'd made, something I'd put effort into. She noticed immediately, fork halfway to her mouth. "Hey, you okay?" "Yeah, just. Not used to someone appreciating effort, I guess." Understanding crossed her face. No pity, no awkwardness, just understanding. "Your ex?" "Yeah." She set down her fork, reached across my small IKEA table, the one my ex had once called embarrassingly cheap when her parents visited, and squeezed my hand. "Her loss. Seriously, this is better than half the restaurants in Memphis, and you made it in a tiny apartment kitchen. That's talent." "Thank you. You don't have to thank me for being honest. That should be baseline, not exceptional." We ate, and gradually the conversation shifted to my marriage. Not forced, not prying, but she asked gentle questions, and I found myself answering honestly. Gave her the outline, the years of support, the sacrifices, the emotional affair, the pattern of ingratitude, the public humiliation at the family reunion. Didn't dwell on it, didn't wallow, just laid out the facts like I was describing a project at work. "You raised your hand," she said when I got to that part. "At the family reunion. Higher than everyone else's." "Yeah, that's incredibly brave. Or incredibly stupid. Jury's still out." "No." She shook her head firmly. "Brave. Doing what needed to be done even when it's hard and messy and public, even when it would have been easier to just keep swallowing it. That's brave. That's standing up for yourself when no one else would." Then she shared her own story. Engaged at 27 to her college boyfriend. Together for 6 years total. Called off the wedding 8 months before it was supposed to happen when she finally admitted to herself what her friends and family had been gently suggesting for years, that he treated her like a supporting character in his life story, not an equal partner. "When did you know you had to leave?" I asked. "When I realized I was apologizing for having opinions." She twirled pasta on her fork, thinking. Like, literally saying, "I'm sorry," but before expressing any preference about anything. Where to eat, what movie to watch, where to go on vacation. I'd just default to whatever he wanted because it was easier than being made to feel like I was being difficult or high maintenance. That's awful. The weird thing is, he wasn't even mean about it. Just dismissive. Like my thoughts were cute, but ultimately irrelevant to the actual decision-making. She took a sip of wine. "Sound familiar?" "Very." So I called it off. Told him I couldn't marry someone who made me feel small. He was shocked. Genuinely shocked. Said I was overreacting, that all couples compromise, that I was throwing away 6 years over nothing. Wanted to go to counseling suddenly, even though he'd refused every time I'd suggested it while we were together. "Let me guess. Told you that you were being dramatic, that relationships take work, that you were giving up too easily?" Word for word. She pointed her fork at me. Same playbook, different players. It's like they all read from the same script. We talked for another 2 hours after dinner. Not just about past relationships, but about everything. Her renovation projects and my master's thesis. Memphis restaurant debates and travel dreams. Embarrassing childhood stories and favorite books. Terrible movies we secretly loved and music that made us nostalgic. The conversation flowed like water finding its level. Natural, easy, no forcing, no awkward silences, no feeling like I had to perform or impress. Around 10, she said she should head home. Early morning tomorrow, some errands to run. The night ended on my apartment steps with a goodnight kiss. She'd driven herself, smart boundary for dates, until she felt comfortable, and I walked her to her car. The kiss was gentle, promising, unhurried. No rush to turn it into something more, no pressure, just a kiss that said I like you, and I'd like to see where this goes. When I went back inside, I cleaned up the dinner dishes and sat on my IKEA couch, the same one my ex had called embarrassingly cheap, suggesting we needed to buy real furniture from a real furniture store. I looked around my simple apartment. My books on the shelf, my video game consoles set up, my running shoes by the door, my master's textbook stacked on the coffee table. My life, spread out in comfortable chaos. Mine. And I realized something fundamental had shifted. This was what partnership felt like. What it was supposed to feel like. Equal. Mutual. Grateful. No keeping score, because both people were too busy appreciating what they had. No walking on eggshells, because both people felt safe expressing themselves. No one-sided sacrifice, because both people valued what the other brought to the table. My ex-wife had asked at that reunion who regretted their marriage. I'd raised my hand higher than anyone else's. But sitting there that night, dinner dishes drying in the rack, the taste of Whitney's goodbye kiss still on my lips, I realized something important. I didn't regret the divorce at all. I regretted the marriage. But ending it, that was the smartest thing I'd ever done. 1 year after the reunion, I got a text from the grandfather. 1 year ago today, how you feeling? Like I made the right choice. Coming to this year's reunion? Hell no. A laughing emoji. Smart man. She'll be there. How is she? Surviving. Working too much. Single. Learning. Norman. Speaks to her now? Barely. Relationship's never been the same. That's sad. That's consequences. How's the girl? Whitney. She's good. We're good. Bring her by sometime. Want to meet someone who appreciates you. That evening, I was at Whitney's apartment. We were cooking together, some Gordon Ramsay recipes she wanted to try, music playing, comfortable silence punctuated by laughter when things went wrong. What are you thinking about? She asked, catching me staring at nothing. A year ago today. The reunion? Yeah. Best worst day of my life. How so? Worst because of how it happened. Best because it freed me. She stirred the sauce. Any regrets about how you handled it? No. She needed the shock. I needed the witnesses. Everyone needed to see the truth, not just hear my version privately. You could have been bitter. I was bitter. For about 3 months. Then I realized being bitter meant she still had power over me. And now I'm just glad I raised my hand higher. She smiled. We finished cooking, sat down to eat at her small dining table. Her apartment was cozy, lived in, warm. Natural conversation, easy laughter, plans for a camping trip next weekend. Thank you for dinner, she said. And for being patient with my crazy work schedule this week. Thank you for letting me be part of your life. Are you always this grateful? Only when I have something to be grateful for. We ate, talked about our days, debated movie choices for later. Simple. Easy. Mutual. I thought about my ex-wife, probably at the family reunion right now, probably being asked about our divorce, probably spinning some version where she was the victim. I thought about Norman, probably maintaining his distance, their relationship permanently altered. I thought about the grandfather, who'd validated me when I needed it most. And I thought about myself, raising my hand at that pavilion, saying 5 regrets, 1 solution. Best decision I ever made. A year ago, I raised my hand at a family reunion and ended my marriage in front of 45 witnesses. People asked if I regretted the dramatic exit. I told them the same thing every time. I only regretted waiting so long. Somewhere between the loan payments and the ignored sacrifices, between the public mockery and the private contempt, I'd forgotten what it felt like to be appreciated. My ex-wife got to keep her regrets about our marriage. I got to keep my self-respect. And I found someone who taught me the difference between love and servitude. She'd asked who regretted their marriage at that reunion. 3 hands went up. I raised mine higher. 5 regrets, 1 solution.
Dear listeners, please share your thoughts in the comments, and do not forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel.